I think we all can agree that stomach fat is one of the hardest areas to lose on the body, and it's the easiest to gain. You could be dropping pounds on the scale, but your stomach still soft, still stubborn. Why? Because stomach fat doesn't respond to quick fixes. Stomach fat doesn't respond for temporary change. Stomach fat is something you have to commit to for the long haul. It doesn't care about your juice cleanse. It takes a system, not just shortcuts. And what I want to do today is break down 6 steps for you to melt stomach fat for good and to keep it off. Why do they call it stubborn stomach fat? Here's the truth. Most people are doing it all wrong, and they're taking this approach in the wrong angle. They're trying to burn off stomach fat with exercise. When you exercise, you do you're doing leg raises, you're doing your crunches, you're doing your 1,000 sit-ups. When you feel the burn in your stomach, you're not feeling fat come off. Matter of fact, no matter what exercise you do, it does not burn or melt fat. The thing you're feeling is actually muscle breaking down. So if all you're doing is you're trying to burn off as much stomach fat as possible, it's not going to work. Starving yourself with juice cleanses isn't gonna work. Obsessing over the scale isn't gonna work. And it's definitely not gonna work if you quit too early. And what most people do is they get started, but they can't follow through and they can't finish. They get started on a plan, but then they don't see the results quickly enough, so they lose motivation and they fall off track. Here's what you're missing. Everyone has abs. No matter how far gone you think you are, you have ab muscles beneath the layer of body fat that you have. The difference is you just have more body fat than you need to. And so everyone has ab muscles that can be revealed through cutting down body fat. And not all fat is the same. There's 2 types of body fats you need to know. You have subcutaneous fat. This is the stuff you could pinch. So you can literally grab your subcutaneous fat right now. So think about the muffin top, think about the love handles. That's the stuff right there that you can feel. The other type of fat you need to know about is called visceral fat. This is the hidden fat that's around your organs. And this is the dangerous kind. Too much visceral fat can lead to hormonal chaos, slower metabolism, higher risk of things like diabetes, heart disease, and even insulin resistance. And so the number one goal, if you want to have a flat stomach, is fat loss, not fat burn. You see, everyone knows they need to eat in a calorie deficit, and you've been told that 1,000 times. But the truth is you can't stick to it. And the reason you can't stick to it is because you're eating the wrong types of foods and the wrong amounts of foods. If you want to truly burn fat, you need a calorie deficit, but not one that leaves you starving. So you're able to stay on track with your calorie deficit. You know you need to be 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance, but you can't do it all of the days because you're hungry, your energy levels are low, and your mood is all over the place. The number one strategy I like to use with my clients to make sure they could stick to their calorie deficit to flatten their stomach is called volume eating. When you volumize your meals, you never have to worry about starving while you're on a calorie deficit ever again. So all calories are equal, but not all calories hit your body the same. You could have 100 calories of peanut butter, but you also can have 100 calories of strawberries. Now think about how many more strawberries you could eat compared to the peanut butter. The peanut butter is going to be very small versus the strawberries will be a massive, massive bowl. Even something like watermelon is another high volume food I love. 1 pound of watermelon is 140 calories. So during watermelon season, your boy is eating watermelon all the time because I know I could eat a lot of it for high volumes with still lower calories. Compared to the person who's only focused on cutting their calories down, but they're not focused on volumizing their eating, they're still eating high processed junk food, but they're eating it in low amounts. So what this means is, let's say you're not focused on volume eating. Yes, you might be in a calorie deficit, but that calorie deficit is going to suck, because you're gonna be hungry, starving, and feel like you're eating barely any food. So what I try to do, and the way I like to make meal plans, is trying to structure your day around high volume foods. Now here's a full day of eating of high volume foods that you can choose from. So for breakfast, most people will have eggs. Now, how can I add volume to those eggs? There's a couple things you could do. You can add egg whites. So what I like to do is I'll have 2 eggs with 6 to 8 ounces of egg whites. You can add veggies. You can add things like spinach or bell peppers, which are super low calorie, but high volume. You can add cottage cheese. So these little things that I can add to my meals that I normally have will add the volume to make me feel fuller longer. Now, let's say I'm gonna eat lunch. What's a great way to add high volume to lunch? Maybe you wanna have a massive salad. You have a massive chicken salad for lunch, which is a bunch of food, which will keep you full until dinner time. One of my favorite high volume snacks to have throughout the day is gonna be something like Greek yogurt, which also is gonna be lower in calories, higher in volume. Let's say it's late at night and I feel like snacking on chips. Instead of snacking on calorie-dense chips, what if I snacked on high-volume popcorn, where I could eat a massive bowl of it for only 130 calories? See, this change in your mindset will help you stick to your calorie deficit longer, which is what is required in order for you to get rid of that stomach fat. Some other examples of high volume foods that you can add in: cucumbers, 12 calories, spinach, 23 calories, strawberries, 32 calories, broccoli, 34 calories, bell peppers, 20 calories. These calories are pretty much close to zero. Mushrooms, cantaloupe, Coke Zero, zero sugar pudding. Like, these are some of the foods that I eat on a regular basis that are almost 0 calories that still make me feel full. My clients often feel like they're eating more food than ever before, but they're still losing weight. Why? Because we focus on high volume and high protein. The next thing you want to focus on is boosting your daily energy burn. Cardio helps, but it's not everything. A massive mistake you make when trying to drop stomach fat is thinking that the calories you burn only happen when you're in the gym or you're actually doing dedicated cardio. That's not the case at all. Here's what actually moves the needle: lifting weights 3 to 5 times per week. So you want to prioritize strength training over cardio. And the reason is because strength training is going to protect muscle and increase your metabolism. If all you did was focus on weight loss, then yes, you might lose the weight, but you might still have the stomach fat, because your body has bad proportion. In order to give your body the look that you want to create what's called a V taper. And a V taper means you have muscle definition in your upper body, so think your chest, your shoulders, your lats, and you have a flat stomach. What this does is this creates the illusion that you have a smaller waist than you actually do. So a massive mistake people make when trying to lose stomach fat is they only look at the stomach. When you only look at the stomach, you might lose weight, but you end up going from fat to skinny fat. So in order to really get rid of stomach fat, you have to also focus on building muscle as well. Next thing you want to do is walk more, like a lot more. This is what's called your NEAT, which is your non-activity thermogenesis. This is all of the movement you have that's outside of the gym. So think about things like walking, fidgeting, chores. I have clients that are literally crushing 12 to 15,000 steps every single day, and they're literally melting fat. They don't do this just in the gym, but they're doing this all day long and they're moving their body. When you focus on steps, you don't have to change your schedule, you just change how you're using your time. So you park farther away at the gym, you park farther away at work. Instead of sitting on your phone on your hour lunch break, you go on a walk. If you're taking a phone call, you don't just take a phone call sitting down at a chair or at your desk, you take a phone call walking around the block. This mindset shift will melt stomach fat over time. Next is you prioritize your sleep. You're sleeping less than 6 hours a night and you're trying to get a flat stomach? Come on now. You are sabotaging your fat loss. Sleep affects your hormones, specifically your ghrelin, which goes up, which means more hunger, your leptin, which goes down, which means less fullness, and your cortisol also spikes when you're not sleeping more than 6+ hours a night, which equals more belly fat. Optimize your sleep by going to bed at the same time every single day and waking up at the same time every day. Get blackout curtains so you can knock out and stay in deep sleep. Stop snoozing your alarm in the morning. And I think oftentimes the hard thing with sleep isn't necessarily waking up on time, but it's going to bed on time. So if you're going to bed like the average American at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, one of your main priorities, if you're serious about dropping stomach fat, should be going to sleep earlier. Even an extra 30 minutes. This can make a massive difference in your body's ability to get rid of stubborn stomach fat. Recovery matters and fat loss depends on this. Next, you got to fix your mindset. You can't just try to outwork a bad mindset. If your mindset is broken, your results will be too. Here are the 3 killers of a bad mindset when it comes down to flattening your stomach. First is the all or nothing approach. What happens is when you mess up with your diet or with your workouts, you allow one bad mistake or one bad decision to turn into 2, 3, 4. You allow one bad day of eating to turn into a bad week. You're either on or you're off. You're either perfect or you're trash. And this leads to burnout. So instead of an all or nothing mindset, you need to have a consistent mindset. And what this means is, even if you make a mistake, even if you make a bad decision with your food, you never allow one bad decision to turn into 2. The next mistake you make with your mindset is chasing fast, quick results. You try to take the easy route. And here's the thing about the shortcut. The shortcut is actually the long way, because the shortcut never gets you there. And if you do get there by taking the shortcut, you ain't gonna stay there. And so you might flatten out your stomach by doing some restrictive quick fix, but you're not gonna be able to keep the flat stomach. You didn't gain the belly that you have now in 30 days, so don't expect to lose it in 30 days. Next is a negative identity and negative self-talk over yourself. If you believe in your mind that you will always be fat, that you're too old, that you have a slow metabolism, that nothing ever works for you, then guess what? Nothing's ever gonna work. You're gonna be too old and your hormones are gonna get in the way. It doesn't matter how perfect your plan is. If you truly don't believe that change is possible in your mind and in your heart, it ain't gonna happen. You're gonna prove yourself right every single time. So fix it with this. Set habit goals, not outcome goals. So I want you to focus on the things you can control, not what you can't control. You can't control how quickly or how slowly your body gets rid of the stomach fat, but you can control if you show up for yourself every single day. I want you to start thinking in years, not weeks. Build an identity that matches your desired outcome. So every single day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna focus on the things that are in my control, such as my steps, what I put into my mouth, when I go to sleep at night, and my activity levels. Whether the scale changes or not today, I want you to still show up the same way regardlessly. And the way you do this is by setting non-negotiables. You wanna know the people who truly win at this fitness game? They're the ones who look at fitness not as a race, but as a marathon. They're not just trying to get there, they're trying to stay there. Because the goal in fitness isn't just to get fit or to get rid of the stomach fat. The goal is to stay fit. The goal is to stay lean. And the truth is, everybody's on a fitness journey, whether they want to believe it or not. You will be on a fitness journey until the day that you die. If you only focus on 6-week challenges or 90-day transformations, you're gonna run yourself into the ground. Why don't you focus on a lifestyle change instead of some short-term quick fix? So here's a baseline you could go with. You focus on 8 to 10,000 steps every single day, no matter what. You focus on drinking half your body weight in ounces of water. You track your food every single day. These are the things that you can control. You schedule your gym times and cardio times just like any other meeting in your life. You weigh in and step on the scale every single day to hold yourself accountable. You get accountability outside of yourself. So you not only need internal accountability, where I hold myself accountable, but you also need external accountability. You need someone else who's going to check you when you feel like quitting or falling short of your goals. You don't want to rely on motivation. You want to rely on systems that you create. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, what gets measured gets managed. So what that means is you got to be tracking your numbers. You can't just have a goal of, I want to lose my stomach fat or I want to get rid of my belly fat. That is not measurable. You actually need to have metrics that you're tracking on a regular basis to make sure you're either on track or off track. Some of my favorite metrics to track are weighing in 7 times per week, taking weekly progress photos of my physique. So when I'm taking weekly photos, I'll take a front picture, a side picture, and then back. And then making sure you're tracking your waist measurements. So how are you fitting in your clothes? How many inches have you lost on your weights? Another thing I think a lot of people overlook is tracking your weights you're lifting inside of the gym. So are you getting stronger? Because let's say maybe you haven't been losing weight on the scale like you had hoped to. If you haven't been losing weight, but you're noticing you're lifting 10 pounds heavier on your bench press, you're doing 20 extra pounds on your hip thrust, that means you're building muscle. So even though you didn't lose weight on the scale, you might have lost a couple pounds of body fat, but you gained a couple pounds of muscle, which leads to a net loss of 0 pounds. So oftentimes people aren't losing weight on the scale, but the reason they're not losing weight on the scale is because they're building muscle. The next thing I like to do is getting some type of DEXA scan. And this is optional, but I do think this is really helpful, especially for people who lose motivation when they feel like they're not seeing the changes they want. So I like to recommend getting DEXA scans done 2 to 3 times per year to just make sure you can actually track your numbers. So a DEXA scan is going to be a very accurate way to not only track your body fat, but also tracks your visceral fat. It's going to track where you have muscle mass in different areas of your body. So it's a comprehensive scan that just gives you accurate data and accurate numbers on how your physique and your body is progressing. The goal isn't just a flat stomach. The goal is a lifestyle. I want to become the person who is worthy of having a flat stomach and getting rid of stomach fat before the stomach fat goes away. So I do the things of someone that has a flat stomach before I get a flat stomach. And when you look at this as a long-term approach where you don't need to lose the stomach fat in 30 days, but you're truly after this for losing the stomach fat for life, you start to show up for yourself every day differently, because now I don't have all this pressure on myself to lose all of this body fat in 30 days, but I know it's gonna take time and I'm okay with that. And when you have that mindset, you're patient with the outcomes and you start to attack the inputs and the things you're responsible for on a daily basis. You need a repeatable, realistic, data-driven plan. And now you got one.